boxing talk, just stay on top of things. So, um, as you can see, Tyson Fury has made an announcement, and Netflix has made an announcement. I give Netflix credit that Netflix seems to be invested in boxing for the most part. Netflix is really trying to do their thing as far as go. You know, because rumor has it that they may have some interest in MLB as well. So we'll just have to see. We know, if I'm not mistaken, that ESPN won't be doing MLB anymore. Even hearing about Fox consuming duties of MLB. So Tyson Fury comes out of retirement for the third time. It's like the third time Tyson Fury has unretired. Now, we all know that originally that date was set for Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. And we all know that right now Anthony Joshua isn't available. We don't know when or if we will ever see Anthony Joshua, according to Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn didn't definitively say that Anthony Joshua has retired, but he gave us the indication that he doesn't know when Anthony Joshua will return. So he has officially retired, but it looked like as of right now, he's temporarily retired. And if Anthony Joshua doesn't come back, that's fine with me. Anthony Joshua has established enough in his career to get into the Boxing Hall of Fame on the first ballot. He's done enough in his career. He has a good enough resume that you shouldn't be able to argue against. For the most part, he gave us some good competitive fights. You know, he came up short in some fights, but he still fought well enough in his career and won enough fights to where I don't think that's a question. It's kind of funny with all the controversy surrounding Bill Belichick and people trying to play dumb, but that's the world we live in now, where people try to play dumb, you know, trying to play dumb, and then you have fake outrage, selective outrage, and then you have a lot of hypocrisy that's going on, which I'm gonna talk about that later on. And this hypocrisy that I'm talking about doesn't have nothing to do with boxing, but we will discuss that later on. So Devin Haney might be calling. He might be calling the Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez fight. So he may be calling that. I mean, that's just a rumor. But if it's true, cool. Another good look for Devin Haney to get involved and, you know, get his you know, dive back into boxing. You know, because like I said, the last couple of years have been tough. You know, the way people turned on Devin Haney, people from his own community turned on Devin Haney for a lousy, racist ass Mexican and Ryan Garcia. And this was black people, you know. But then again, that's our history not sticking together, you know. So, you know, what else is new? I mean, what else is new with this? So, are you surprised by this? I'm not. We only want to talk unity when it could possibly benefit the person that's asking for unity. But you look on other occasions, they dismiss the whole thing of unity, of brotherhood, of sisterhood, and all that kind of stuff. Because people, whether they want to admit it or not, particularly in my community, they have this thing where they want people to like them, not respect them, like them. And that's the difference between me and a lot of other people. I don't follow a trend. I don't ride a wave. Just like this whole thing with Corey Holcomb and that chick. Now all of a sudden everybody is so disturbed about what Corey Holcomb did. Just a lot of hypocrisy, like I say, when it pertains to that. And I'm gonna just make it clear. I fell back on Corey Holcomb a while back before this incident. it was just some stuff that I didn't like with Corey that I was seeing. Because at the end of the day, Corey Holcomb, he has contradicted himself quite a bit of times. I just fell back on him. I really, I'm not finna play like I'm just so distraught about what happened with him and the chick. He already explained what happened. A lot of people just be trying to act brand new, and I get it. People do it for content, but that's the difference between me. I'm not here to be everybody's friend, and I'm not here to say what's trendy and ride a wave of, either fake outrage or just acting like I'm just perfect. It's just standing on, moral compass, because we all make mistakes. So it is what it is. But getting to the boxing thing, as we get close, I really feel they could have did a better job with promoting this fight. This fight was announced a little while ago, and I just think they could have spent some money on a decent marketing campaign. I don't know what it is about showing commercials like, like basically fight week. I think you should start advertising and showing commercials and all that kind of stuff at least 3 weeks for the fight, so people can start preparing and find out this is going to be a pay-per-view event. Just like if they have some disposable income, be like, okay, this $70, okay, I'm gonna take this $70, and sometimes people don't have that kind of don't have that type of spare money at their discretion just right then and there, because let's just be honest, a lot of people live from check to check, and then based off how much everything costs now, the way food has the price of food is skyrocketed, just period, food and a lot of stuff. It's like now where $70 wasn't that big of a we could be. When you got milk, it's like who knows, like what, $4 or $5 a gallon. Pack of meat can be anywhere from $8 to $10 a pound or some shit, even more than that. So that's why, they just could have did a better job. But as I stated, in all likelihood, I'm going with Shakur Stevenson to win this match. I think he'll outbox Lopez. And I think he'll just cruise, and I think he'll cruise it. Now, like I said, Teofimo Lopez is going to have to try to initiate most of the offense. If he tried to sit up there and try to sit around and wait to see what Shakur is going to do and try to counter punch him, then he's going to lose the fight. He's going to have to make Shakur look uncomfortable. Because also remember, with boxing, sometimes with the judges, I don't know who will be the judges of this fight. Boxing can also be an eye test too. Judges look for certain things. Just like with Moratala and Andy Cruz, it just looked like Moratala, whether you felt like he was doing enough, it looked like I stood there watching it with my own eyes, had a front row seat. It looked like Moratala was doing more. Effective aggression, forcing Cruz back, fighting him off the ropes, looking like he was the stronger guy, looking like he was controlling the pace of the fight, and that's how he won the fight. Now, we know Shakur Stevenson is good off of fighting off the ropes, but like I said, Teofimo is going to have to take advantage. when opportunity presents himself, he's gonna have to take it, man. If he tried to sit up there and dance and clown around and showboat and all that kind of stuff, then it could be a long night for him. But I think by the 6th round, let's just say if it's the 6th round and Shakur Stevenson is up 5 rounds to 1 or 6 or 6-0, then in all likelihood, unless he gets knocked out, then we already know what's going to happen. I think if by the 6th round it's 4-2 Stevenson or 3-3, then we could say, okay, anything could happen. Let's see what happens these next 6 rounds. And I believe Devin Haney is going to be there in attendance. Last time I talked to Bill, they was exploring options, seeing what's out there. I know Pacquiao's name has, surfaced as far as a potential opponent for Devin Haney. Y'all know how this works. If Devin Haney fights Manny Pacquiao, he beats him, then everybody and their mama gonna discredit him. They gonna say, oh, it was a 47-year-old Pacquiao and all this kind of stuff. He's not really gonna get credit for that. So it's kind of like a slippery slope fight. It's gonna be a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Even though Manny Pacquiao wants to continue to fight, but he won't get credit. And we know who will be the main detractors: the people that have the Spanish names, and the people that have a different skin texture than me. And then it'll be some people from Manny Pacquiao's own community. So I know he's a possible. I would think long and hard before I take that fight. But if they was to take the Manny Pacquiao fight, and if a Manny Pacquiao Devin Haney fight comes about, I would support it. But the question is Al Heyman is Al Heyman willing to work with Devin Haney, because he's not a PBC fighter. And we all know how Al Heyman rolls. I just heard Max Kellerman and Andre Berto, they was having a discussion about, and Max Kellerman been really on some bullshit, and has to be said, about how they're just trying to discredit Terrence Crawford. They're trying to discredit Terrence Crawford, but at the same time, they want him to continue fighting. Now they're saying they want to pay him X amount of money and all this kind of stuff. My thing with Dana White, he talking like he owned Terrence Crawford. He doing that typical, Terrence Crawford is not going to be able to stay retired. And as if he just got a line on Terrence Crawford, like he owns Terrence Crawford. I don't even like hearing people like Dana White, especially with a last name White, referring to somebody like Terrence Crawford in that manner. Don't like it. It's just like you gonna say, hey, I want you to fight, and because I say so, you should fight. At the end of the day, all this is a ploy to keep Terrence Crawford possibly fighting until he actually loses. It's all about getting that O and finding somebody to take that O. That's why they won't comfortably let him stay retired. They don't like the idea within the last, 15 years, they saw, 3 black fighters retire undefeated. And Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, and now Terrence Crawford. So that's what's going on with that. It's just really simple math. And Dana White just think he can throw out a number, and that's gonna persuade Terrence Crawford to come back. That's all. It is because he cares about Terrence Crawford. They just want Terrence Crawford to fight until he loses. And once Terrence Crawford loses, he has no value to them anymore, because it's all about getting that O from him. And it would help them even more if the person that gets that O from Terrence Crawford is not black. Because that's the other scenario that comes into play. I'm just a realist. I know how this works. And like I said, this is why sometimes I'll fall out of favor with these promoters. It's not going to deter me from saying what I have to say. This is why I'll fall out of favor with some boxers, and I'm going to keep saying what I need to say about these boxers. Now, I know Shakur Stevenson said some stuff about that he need to get more support from the black community, and we turn on their, no, well, see, here's the thing. And Shakur, that's the thing with him. He back and forth with the when he want to be black. 1 minute he's black, 1 minute he's Puerto Rican, I mean, you listen, whatever, whatever door or whatever room you walk into, you got to stay in there. Whatever space you want to be aligned with, you can't sit up there 1 minute you black and black people need the black community has supported you. But here's the thing, Shakur, and this is just real talk. Don't get mad. The problem is, at the same time, you got a point to a certain degree, but here's the thing. How about reciprocating some of the same stuff that you're talking about that you don't receive from us? One, you defended Teofimo when it pertained to that racist shit that he was saying and implying. We saw you visibly cheering for Ryan Garcia, I think, when he was fighting Rolly. That's not a good look. Listen, on no level would I ever cheer for Ryan Garcia, ever. When I say the disdain I have for Ryan Garcia, and that's just real talk. I can't wait till he loses or get knocked out again. I don't care who does it. I hope Barrios knocks him out. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Garcia is back on the sauce. Okay. And based off the fact that Mauricio Sullivan, Mauricio Sullivan is not shit. And at the end of the day, he avoids certain type of media and certain type of questions to say that they're going to raise the amount of, first of all, no. You're already saying that you're trying to give these dudes an advantage. But yeah, getting back to Shakur, this is why Shakur gets criticized. And people be like, okay, dude, you can't be back and forth with that. Either you are or you ain't. You shouldn't be sitting up there trying to make excuses for Teofimo. Teofimo just say that, like, it's other ways to promote a fight. You can insult somebody without having to make it a racial issue. But the funny thing is, they only get mad when we say something. Everybody was outraged about Devin Haney saying, I won't ever lose to a white boy. But then here it is, Ryan Garcia, he still get to go on shows and stuff. And Ring Magazine has completely ignored what he said. And that's why I laugh at these people when they try to sit up here and say that we too sensitive until I roast their ass. I kind of want somebody that ain't black to say that, so I want to roast somebody, because I saw something a couple of days ago that I'm gonna respond to later on, and I'm gonna go in on what I saw. So But I understand what Shakur is saying, but like, dude, you kind of, right message, but it came from the wrong person. And then I'm gonna say this again: the reason why a lot of the Hispanic fighters grow in popularity, because they're media trained. Even the ones that don't speak Spanish are media trained. How is it that Rafael Espinosa, who doesn't even speak English very well, loves talking to me and doing interviews with me? But then my own group, you get these dudes like Keyshawn and a few other people and burnt bacon ass Richardson Hitchens try to act snooty towards us. But then they'll be the same dudes that'll wonder why they can't accumulate the type of money that they want, and why their popularity doesn't grow. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna say this again to all you black fighters, because I know a lot of y'all listen to my channel. You know how this works. You know the reason why everybody likes Bruce Shushu Carrington? Because he's media savvy and he always gives the media access. That's how you grow. Same thing with Bill and Devin. For the most part, they give the media a lot of access. But when you sit up there and you in a public space, you at a boxing event, and the media is trying to talk to you and you don't want to do interviews and you act all snooty, or even worse, you turn your back on a black media member to talk to a non-black, then it's like, okay, dude, fuck you. Now, if you don't want to do interviews, okay, to a certain degree, but then why are you there then? You know how this works. That's kind of diva-like when you do that. So I don't understand that. Listen, I understand if it's not a boxing event going on. I understand if you at the movie theater and all that kind of stuff, you with your family and all that kind of stuff, you in your own private space. But if you at a boxing event, you trying to act like you don't want to talk to the media, but then you'll come back, hey man, why I'm not as popular? How come how come he's the A side? Oh, how come he got this many cigars? Because people you don't never know who's filming you. So a lot of you black fighters need media training. Same thing with Keyshawn. He trying to do the same stuff to a certain degree. What got Bud in trouble, that kind of bothered people about Bud, because Bud was kind of standoffish against the media. Now the problem is it was justified to a certain extent, but the problem is Bud was kind of doing it to the wrong ones. Now Bud has loosened up a little bit since the Errol Spence fight and all that kind of stuff. But still, when people see you doing that, that's not a good look. And all this has to be said. I mess with Bud tough, but that's not gonna deter me from, speaking my truth. Now, how Bud treated some black media, it was justified. But he shouldn't do that to everybody. As far as the boxing thing go, it's simple mathematics, especially with black fighters. Make yourself available. Give the media access. We're there to do a job. When you start talking that stupid shit about, oh, you guys trying to eat off of me, well, here's the thing. A lot of us, the reason that y'all are eating, and eating very well, because here's the thing, that's how it works. That's how it works. It's about popularity, who's hot. You know why Rolly, like I said, that's why Rolly made that comment. Hey, say what you want to say about Rolly, whether you respect him as an actual fighter and whether he is as good as he thinks he is. One thing about Rolly, why he's so popular, because he always talks to the media, always gives the media access. Y'all name one time where Rolly has ever turned me down for an interview. He knows who I am. He always talks to me. But then you get the guys that you really trying to talk to, and then they just be on some brand new stuff, you know? But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because, you know, it just had to be said. But it's good to see, I guess, it's good to see some of these, you know, it's good to see that some of these dudes understand how this thing works. Now, as far as Tyson Fury goes, hey, we already knew he was coming back, so I'm not going to rip him because we all knew that him and Anthony Joshua was in play. Will I be watching? Yeah, of course I am. I don't know exactly what day April 11th falls on. It's probably either a Friday or a Saturday, but you know, I will be watching. But I'm glad that Netflix is continuing to, you know, stay invested in boxing. But Netflix is only going to put on fights that I guess they think is going to draw a lot of viewership. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Tyson Fury still has a co-promotional deal with Top Rank, so I guess this could be like a demonstration for Top Rank. Maybe if it does some numbers, then who knows? Maybe they'll put Top Rank on Netflix on a regular basis. But like I said, boxing is screwed up because, like I've said on several occasions, because of the promoters and the fighters themselves. You know, the problem is that Bob Arum wasn't able to secure certain fights for Terrence Crawford. And then on the flip side, you had Al Haymon, who wasn't willing to let Terrence Crawford fight some of his marquee fighters. And then now you have this thing going on with, you know, Boots and Virgil Ortiz. It's sad. It's very sad. But it basically debunks the whole notion about, you know, the whole notion that, you know, Mexican warrior stuff and we'll fight anybody, win, lose, or draw. Like I said, Oscar is doing everything he can in his power to monkey wrench that fight. And it's sad. Or he has monkey wrenched that fight. When he did the 60-40 in favor of Virgil Ortiz, when he actually put that out there and he didn't really think about what he said, everybody showed that he didn't think that Virgil Ortiz is capable. He just doesn't think Virgil Ortiz can beat. He just doesn't think he can beat Boots. That's the bottom line. When are we gonna when we gonna be truthful about this stuff? When we gonna keep it a buck? That's all it come down to. He just worried about Boots beating Virgil Ortiz the fuck up. But it's boxing. You win some, you lose some. And this is what I missed about boxing in the 70s and the 80s. Hey, if you lost to a dude, hey, you just bounce back. You wasn't expected to beat everybody. But now everybody is so predicated on trying to be Floyd Mayweather. And thinking that they're of the caliber of Floyd Mayweather, it has hurt the boxing industry itself. And then based off the fact that how the promoters were acting, where you had the networks trying to make certain fights and they just made it look like it was just so difficult to make fights. We was able to get Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. HBO and Showtime did a joint venture. We was able to eventually, after all the hurdles, some people say it was 4 years too late, we eventually got Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. And my thing is, okay, Netflix was able to make Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. Jake, you know, Anthony Joshua is a matchroom fighter. He fights for the zone. And Tyson Fury fights for Top Rank. I think he has a co-promotional deal with Frank Warren. So once again, we can make these fights. So there you have it. All right, you guys, at work. Be back with more later on. Out.